Hey guys, Gathering Magic back again, and this is part 2 of the Market Watch for May 10th, 2025. So we're going to get started like we always do. We're going to start right at the beginning of the market with Alpha, and these are Alpha Commons. As I mentioned in part 1, the floor of the Commons has moved up from as low as 27 cents not too long ago up to 75 cents is your cheapest Alpha Common. You can see the prices here. Like I said, I like to do this just to keep like a visual record that we'll have of how many cards are actually on the marketplace and then how many total are in circulation, as well as what the prices are currently. So 20 commons in the set. You can see here they range from 75 cents all the way up to $3.50 for the Feral Spirit. Now for the rares. So your rare cards, you're starting at $1.22 for the Silver Shield Paladin. There are 20 rares in the set, all the way up to $10 for the Summoner Tyrus Paladrum, or Palladium. So there are your rares for Alpha. Moving on to Epics, 10 Epics in the set. They're all represented here. Cheapest is $4 for the Fire Demon, up to $19.99 for Mischievous Mermaid. And your legendaries, all 9 are represented here. $30 for Spirit of the Forest, up to, can you believe it, $1,500 for the Frost Giant. And that is for a level 2. So you only need 8 cards for a max copy. So that one is only for 2 copies, and they want $1,500. Okay, moving on to your gold foil versions. So there's still a few gold foil alpha commons under 20 bucks. One of the things that I was thinking about earlier, and I think I might have mentioned this on the last Market Watch, which would you rather have? Would you rather have one legendary pack from Conclave Arcana or a gold foil alpha common? But here are the alpha commons. So you can see ranging in price from just under $15 up to $620 for the Spineback Turtle. Not very many of these in circulation, and as you can see on the market, usually there's only, half a dozen copies or less of each of these cards. Your rares, so now your rares, you're starting at $40 is your cheapest alpha gold foil rare. Let it load the correct graphics. There we go. All the way up to almost $1,500 once again for the Summoner Tyrus. 5 of them on the marketplace. Only 18 of the 20 rares are represented in gold foil. Moving on to epics, 10 in the set, all 10 are on the marketplace, at least a couple copies of each, anywhere from $300 from the Screaming Banshee up to $1,350 for the Swamp Thing. And then finally your legendary cards, there are a few. So we've got 5 alpha legendary gold foils. Lord of Darkness sitting at $3,150. Selenia Sky at $11,000, 2 available. Only a single Spirit of the Forest for $24,000. A single Gold Dragon. I think this is the first time I've seen a gold foil alpha gold dragon on the marketplace since I've been keeping track of this. 24,000, only 24 in circulation, and then only 13 Angel of Light. That card is listed for 30,000. Okay, so that's it for your regular alpha. Let's take a look at the promo cards that are available. So the 4 rarities, the promo cards are represented in regular foil. The common, $625 for the Dragon Whelp. Neb Seni for $9, $75 for the Royal Dragon Archer, and $10,000 for Shinlo. And then your gold versions, there is only one, the gold rare for $299. Let's move on to beta. Just take a look at the core and reward cards. So you're looking at 6 to 7 cents is the floor for your beta commons. Still, some of these are not very plentiful on the marketplace. 27, 47 is not a lot for a common. As low as 21 for Undead Minotaur, but then you'll have other ones like Creeping Ooze where there's almost 400. So, if there's specific cards that you're looking for, it's best to check back on the marketplace on a regular basis because some of the ones that you're looking for, if you're playing Wild, there may not be very many copies here. So that's why I like to do this every 2 weeks to just kind of give an update on what cards are available. You can see here commons. Let's just look at the regular foil. So they range all the way from 6-7 cents up to $1.14 for Haunted Spider. Silver Shield Knight sitting at 52 cents. Moving on to the rares. So your rares, now you're pushing 30 cents for the cheapest rare for beta. All the way up to some summoners. Malric at 38 cents. Chicken is sitting at an even 50 cents. Zentar at 54 cents. Then you've got Tyrus at $1. Liliana surprisingly at $1.20, the second most expensive summoner, next to Alric at $2.35. Not sure why Hobgoblin is the most expensive at $2.42. Probably was a buyout. Yep, there were no single copies available. So people just decided to list for whatever they could to see if they'd get that price. Okay, moving on to epics for beta. Just over $1 are your cheapest epic cards from beta. All the way up to $3.50 for the Divine Sorceress. I think a lot of people also forget that there were 2-mana summoners in beta that were only, they don't have any abilities, but at least, you know, they're very cheap at 2 mana. I never see these played in Wild. Legendary cards, we start at $5.61, getting very close to a $6 floor for beta legendary cards. All the way up to Lord of Darkness at only 13. That seems kind of low. Cryptmancer, Lightning Dragon at 20. Peak Rider at 22. Prince Renan at 29. Voldemort under 50 at $47. So if you've been looking for Voldemort at a somewhat affordable price, there are 2 single copies available under $50 each. Otherwise, if you want to get a max copy, you're looking at about $380 for Voldemort. And then Elemental Phoenix is the most expensive at $85.39, but that is for 3 combined cards, so $28 a piece there. Or you could get a level 3 for $17 per card. Okay, so that's it for your regular foils. Now let's move on to the gold foils. So as mentioned in part 1, it looks like $2 is now the floor for your gold foil beta common cards. $2 up to $20 for Peaceful Giant. Your rares range from just under $10. $10 is the floor here. $19 for a gold chicken. Gold Summoner for $20. Gold Alric for $25. Zentar for $25. All the way up to $3,000 for a single copy of Malric. Of course, doesn't really need to be said, but don't buy it for $3,000. You know, it looks like 75 to 80. Even Peacebringer's a little bit high. Looks like $75, maybe 80 should be the high for a rare. Your epics. So your epics, you're looking now at $40 as a floor for a gold foil epic. There we go. All the way up to $900 for the Manticore. And then finally for your legendaries from beta, $250 for Lightning Dragon is the cheapest, moving up to $5,500 for either Prince Renan or Valnamore. And you can see here only 41 copies in existence of Prince Renan and only 49 for Valnamore. So those are your gold foils. So now let's look at promo cards from beta. So these are your promo cards, all in the Dragon Splinter. Mentioned in part 1, Delwyn, the common summoner, sitting at 42 cents. The Bowman, the rare card, is at 33. Fiendish Harpy at 249. Red Dragon at 48.45. And that is for a single BCX. And then finally Prince Julian. There's actually 4 available for sale. Cheapest one is $12.95. Then it jumps up to over $3,600. And then Archmage Arius. Max copy for just under $1,400, and then it jumps to $10,000 and even higher. All right, let's move on. Oh, before I move any further, I just noticed I want to give a shout out to Rabinski 2020. He was kind enough today to send me a couple land plots in my region, region 43. And I was ready to do a trade. I'm like, hey, I've got a couple plots available. You know, if you were interested in swapping. He's like, no. He's like, go ahead and take them. I appreciate your content and you've helped me out. And I want to give him a big shout out, a big thank you very much. And this is one of the reasons why I'm so positive on Splinterlands, is just the awesome community members that we have. You know, their generosity is just never ending. So shout out again. Thank you very much. So I just wanted to mention that. Okay, let's move on to, let's see, after beta. Oh, we did the promo cards. Are there any gold foils? Yes, there are a few. The Dragon Summoners at 15, the Bowman at 20, Fiend Sharpie at 300, and the Red Dragon is at 1,000. So now we can move on to Orbs, which is a very small set, as you can see. I usually go like by rarity, but I can almost just go by, this is the entire set. So this is your Orb set. So you've got your commons, you know, sitting here from 6 cents to 30. There's actually a rare that's cheaper at 30 cents. Undead Archer at 77. The Bard at 95 cents. Your two epics, $1.50 for the Dwarven Wizard, $2.33 for the Healer, and then your three legendary cards. Minotaur Warlord is at $8. Corrupted Pegasus at $11.50. And Lord of Fire at $12.43. And then your gold foils, you can see 11 out of the 12 cards are represented here, ranging from $2.42 for the Goblin Chef up to $800 for the Corrupted Pegasus. Very nice set, very easy to go over, being so small. Okay, let's go to Untamed next, just the core and reward cards. We'll start with the regular foils, just the commons. 2 cents is the floor for these. Moving on up to most expensive, and these are the three that I always look for. Sandworm, decent card, 7 cents, and then the Failed Summoner and Serpentine Spy, 34 cents and 38 cents respectively. Your rares, which we will also look at the summoner price. So your rares start off at 7 to 8 cents for the floor for the commons, all the way up to 55 cents for the summoner Bortus. Now just look at the summoners just by themselves. So they range anywhere in price from 22 cents for Mother Kala, 37 cents for Wizard of Eastwood, 39 cents for Drake of Arnik, 40 cents for Contessa, 44 for Pyre, and then, as we just mentioned, 55 cents for Bortus. So those are your summoners. Moving on to the epics, you're looking at 24, 25 cents is the low end, up to $1.89 for Lobstradamus. And then your legendary cards, $1.68 is the cheapest legendary, and you guys know the most expensive card. And like I said in part 1, it has moved up in price up to $70.12. That is for a single BCX for Kitty. There is a maxed copy for the same amount per card, $70.12. That will run you $771. So the card that really came down considerably, I guess you would say, is Jotun. This had consistently been listed for around, I believe, $47, $48. So to be able to get one, let's see how many are available at this price. So there are quite a few. So if you're looking to pick up a Jotun, a single BCX, or a single card under $40, you know, now is your chance. Then the other cards I like to look at, Llama is sitting at $30, and then Kron is sitting at $8. And then if we look at the gold foils, so your gold foil commons are getting close to 75 cents. So we're hitting almost 70 cents for the floor for a common gold foil. All the way up to Failed Summoner at $4.20. For your gold foil rares, they range from just under $3 up to $24.99. And let's look at the summoners, see what those prices are. Now, I think that's very cheap. $3 for a gold summoner and $4 for Bortus. That is usually the most expensive summoner. Say these two are probably pretty good deals. Drake of Arnik, $4.24. anytime you can get a gold foil summoner, I would say $5 or less. That's a good deal. So a lot of good prices here, I think, for these rare summoners. Remember, too, these do come back quicker from survival mode, if that's something you're interested in as well. Gold foil epics starting at $16. A couple of them under 17, then it quickly jumps to 19 and 20. So not very many under $20. And then it jumps up to the Chief for 178. This is the only copy on the market. Same thing with Soulstorm, only one copy, and they're listing it for 95. And your gold foil legendaries, they start at just under $100, $95 for Robo Dragon Knight, $99 for Gloridax Magus, and then all the way up to, there actually is a gold Kron for sale this week, so quite often there is not a gold foil Kron. He is the most expensive at $1,200, but as I mentioned in part 1, there is a max copy for $1,200 and a single copy for $1,200 by the same seller. And $9.90 for the Llama, $9.75 for Kitty, $8.50 for Jotun. So those are other cards of interest. Let's look now at the promo cards. So your promo cards, the two that you had, well, let's get off of Legendary so we see all the promo cards. So the Epic Halfling Alchemist is up to $2, Chain Golem at $19.49, Mighty Dricken at $925, and then your gold versions, the Halfling Alchemist is at $95, and Gold Chain Golem is at $160. And then moving on to dice. So we'll break this one down a little bit. It's a little bit bigger than Orb set. So 2 to 5 cents for the commons, pretty standard. No surprises there. For your summoners, Mylor is under $1. So for quite a while, it was like, oh, is he pushing up to $2, $3, $4 per card? Now he's back down under $1. Lorna Shine is at 70, and Vera and Quid are back down to 20 cents. For your epics, 29 to 37 cents, pretty much a normal range there for those cards. And then your legendaries, anywhere from $2.75 up to $19.95 for Epona. Krallis seems to fluctuate too. Some weeks he's in the mid to upper 20s. Currently there is a copy for under 14. And then your gold foil versions, 66 cents to $2.30 for the Flamesmith. $3 to $22 for Bright and Bloom. So Bright and Bloom is more expensive than Mylor or Lorna. And once again, I think if you can get any of the, especially a Lorna under $10, I think is a pretty good deal. And then like Ouster with Magic Reflect for $5 or less, these are probably, decent pickups. Gold Epics, $22 to $30 there. And then finally your gold legendaries, you're looking at $150 for your cheapest, up to $2,000 for the Oaken Behemoth. And Krallis is sitting there at $400. Okay, that's it for the Untamed tab. So let's move on to everyone's favorite, Chaos Legion, which is rotating out very, very soon. So 1 cent. You guys know most of these cards are still a penny. Up until you get to, the Psychic, Deep Lurker, and Scavo are your main three. Maybe with Chaos Agent as well, sitting at 3 cents. Those are your commons. Your rares range from starting at 2 cents all the way up to the summoners. So these have come back down. 13 cents for Sloan, 15 for Tarsa, 18 for Thaddeus Brood, 20 for Obsidian, and 28 for Kelia. Your regular foil epics, 11 cents is the floor here, up to 25 cents for Narissa. And then finally your legendary cards from Chaos Legion. Actually, we're getting close to 60 cents for your cheapest legendary from Chaos Legion. So even though these cards are so plentiful, the floor on the legendary cards is slowly trending higher. And then your legendary summoners, of course, are your top cards, anywhere from $1.90 from Grandmaster Wraith up to $3.44. So this week, Quix the Devious is the most expensive. And then going to the gold foil version. So gold foil commons, I think when I did this earlier today, the cheapest was the Lion at 19 cents. He's up to 20. After him, since it's a neutral card, not a lot of people use a neutral card for land. Then it jumps to 23 cents. So 23 cents is kind of your cheapest splinter for land. And you have a range from 20 cents all the way up to 61 cents for the Scavo Hireling. And since we're on gold foils, let's take a look to see how many max copies are available for these and what the prices are. So you're looking at $8.50 to $9 is your cheapest max gold foil common from Chaos Legion. Then you can see pretty quickly you're starting to hit, $10 to $12 for a majority of these. So if there are specific splinters that you're looking for, if you're looking for water has a couple of the cheaper ones, but then if you get to earth, and you're going to see now you're starting to get into that $12 plus range. And still not very many of most of these on the market, single 2 or 3 copies for a lot of these things. So there are your prices there for Chaos Legion Commons, max level. So now looking at rares. So now your rares, other than the Monk, you're looking at $1.13 is the cheapest. Once again, probably because he's neutral. And these range in price all the way up to $2.38 for Kelia. For max level copies, $22 is the floor. Up to, wow, look at this, a single copy of Thaddeus Brood max level for 77, a single copy of Obsidian for just under 66. So even though there are tons of Chaos Legion cards out there, gold foils are still holding their value. So for your gold foil epics, $4.50 to $5 is kind of the floor for these. All the way up to $11.59 for Tidebiter. So there's a handful of each of these on the market. How many are actually max level? So you can see there's only 12 total that are max level, and they range anywhere from $47 to $70. And then finally your gold epics from Chaos Legion. $30 is almost the floor, so you've got $29 for Queen Mycelia, and then $30 plus from Void Dragon on up. And the most expensive currently is a gold foil Quix the Devious. There's only a single copy on the market, and they're asking $94.44. So once again, so many Chaos Legion packs were open, but you can see not very many are on the marketplace. And actually, if you think about it, not many are in circulation for some of these either. Under 1,000 copies for a lot of these. Okay, so that's it for the Corrin reward cards. So let's look at the Soulbound. So your Soulbound cards, your commons, 6 cents up to 26 cents for the Fungus Flinger. So now some of the cards are really starting to differentiate themselves. They're not all basically the same price. You'll see that also when we get to the rares. Some of the lesser played rares, you're looking at 23 to 26 cents, but then the Marks Rat, which is used quite frequently, is your highest at 87. And then your summoner cards are in the 75 to 79 cent range. So these have really moved up nicely. Then your epic cards, so your epics, you're looking at $1.90 to $2.92. And then finally your legendary cards, anywhere from $7.80 up to $16.84 for Avis. And then the gold foil versions of the Soulbound, $1.66 up to almost $5 for the Orc. Your rares, you're looking at $8.80 for Lob Lowland, all the way up to $38 for the Brune. I believe this is for a single copy. Yep, single copies are 38 plus. Not very many on the market. I don't think very many were unlocked, so that's why you have these high prices. As you can see, not very many of these are on the marketplace. So that's your rares. Moving on to your epics. Now you're getting in $28 to $122 for a single copy of that one. And your legendaries, only 6 of the 12 are represented here. Anywhere from $124 for Avis up to $295 for Barrick Snake Eye. All right. Moving on to Rift Watchers. So like I mentioned in part 1, the only thing I really noticed on Rift Watchers was in the rares. You know, your commons are pretty standard, 1 to 7 cents. But when you move on to the rares, the one card that really jumped out at me, because normally these are, you know, 6 cents to 27 cents, and I'm like, wait a minute, $1.27. So Queen of Crows has moved up. Someone bought all the single BCX copies, so now your cheapest, you're looking at $1.20 to, you know, $1.90, $2 for single BCX copies. Now there are max level copies available for around 22 cents a piece, which is what is a normal price. So if you do have the funds for looking for, you know, max level copy, definitely go that route. And then another surprise I saw for the epics was, what are the 2 cards that are usually on the bottom? Dalin and Aquatis. Look at this. Aquatis is currently the most expensive at $1.40 per card. Look at that. So maybe someone has found a meta with Aquatis. I just thought that was kind of, because usually it's always Ilthane, and I think either Fernard or Thisp are 2 and 3. So I thought it was kind of strange that Aquatis is now the top card for the summoner. And then legendaries, $1.10 is the floor, up to $17.10 for inevitable. Other than inevitable, you know, these are very affordable Rift Watcher cards, $6 and less for some pretty good legendary cards. Okay, checking out the gold foil versions, Lycan Beast at 26 cents, up to $2.10 for Ash Mirage. Your rares, $1.14 for Corsair Boson. I'm kind of surprised he's the cheapest. Usually he's one of the top 3 cards. Usually it's him, Tinderlock, and Queen of Crows are the top 3. So it's surprising to see these 2 as low on the list. But look at the price for Queen of Crows at $5.75, more than double the next rare. Your epics. So Dalin is still on the low end of the gold foil epics for the summoners. And the highest is Ilthane. Ilthane is usually the most expensive, but still only $9.50 for a single copy. And your gold legendaries, still holding good value. $29 are the cheapest ones for Rift Watchers, up to $156 for Inevitable, $150 for Sea-Wreck, and $108 for Immolation. So, and surprisingly, Runemancer is almost at $100. Usually this is a card that's, you know, 35 some dollars, so this is a very high price. I would definitely not pay that for that card. Okay, so that is it for the Rift Watcher tab. We're almost there, guys. We are on the Rebellion tab. Let's start with the core Rebellion set. So here we go. Here are the commons ranging 5 cents up to 39 cents. So I thought we'd have more of a spike in price for these, but everyone is selling everything they can to get DEC for Conclave Arcana packs. I think once the hype settles down in a couple weeks, everyone has their packs, have opened them. Now they start going through their collection and saying, okay, what cards did I kind of skip or gloss over in Rebellion that I need to pick up at a decent level, at a decent price to help my deck? I think the main thing you guys really need to look at, I've mentioned this a lot, are the no attack cards. So let's look at those. Let's get rid of summoners, just look at units. So all the 2 mana cards I think you're going to want to get at least to level 5, with the exception of the Botanist. For some reason he's the only one that gets his second ability at level 4. So 30 copies of him, you'll get Return Fire and Blind. But all the other ones you need to get to level 5 to get their second ability. You know, useful abilities like Triage, abilities like Slow, and so on. So don't wait for these prices to go any higher. If you can't get these maxed, I strongly suggest at least get them to max silver, get them to level 5 for that second ability. Let's see, if there are other key commons I think that you should pick up. If you're playing like lower level decks, like I am, one thing I noticed for water, a lot of the water cards start off with 2 range damage, and they pair so nicely with Prophet Rosa. So even if you only get a single copy, you know, you can play a level 1 deck, get a level 1 Prophet Rosa, level 1 of the Seeker and the Barmaid, and you're going to be doing 4 points of damage with both those guys. So one thing to look for. And then once again, don't overlook the importance of these common summoners. They did not do the other pairing, the opposite colors as I call them in Conclave Arcana, so there's only these 5 combinations, but still being able to play 2 splinters with 1 summoner is just very, very powerful, even if the common ones don't give you any tactics. So don't overlook those, especially if you're going to play in the lower leagues. Okay, moving on to rares. So your rares start at 11, 12 cents. And they move up to, look at this, 85.56. And I thought this was interesting. All of these are max level. So Avena the Wolf was bought out completely, and the only thing left are max level cards. Okay, next to that, Moxian Rebel, Soothsayer. You know, if you get this to level 2, you want it to get it to 2 for the heal. You guys know I love Prophet Rosa and Fabino, so these have kind of moved up a little bit in price. Other must-have cards, even just a single BCX. The Bolter, just, you know, to get it for the headwinds. Chaos Jailer is a must-have card if you're playing in Modern, but you want this guy at least at level 2. You need to get that poison. Once you get him to level 2, unless you're going to, like, play in gold and above, you know, level 4 is max silver, so there's really not that big of a deal. If you get him to level 2, don't worry about getting him to level 4. You know, that 1 point of armor and that 1 health, I don't think it's worth it for another 20 copies of the card. But if you are playing in the higher levels, then definitely, you know, max this guy out. But, you know, for me, if you just get him level 2, that's good. But definitely a must-have card. Lyceros, you guys know how I feel about this card as well. I love this card. You know, at max silver, this thing is an absolute beast. You team it with Fabino, he's going to be hitting for 5. He's got thorns, very good armor and health, so big fan of that card. And it's surprisingly one of the cheapest rares. Is there anything else that jumps out at me here? The Hunter, I like the amount of damage and it doing sneak. The Regulator, this is going to be a very strong splinter, so any Ulans that you can pick up, definitely do so, because this guy is going to get shield, so he's going to take less damage. You know, Opportunity and True Strike, you know, very good card. Anarchist is kind of your cheap deep lurker. You know, he is neutral, a little bit pricey. He's not as strong, but still an opportunity guy you can throw in basically any deck. So those are some cards I'm fans of. Moving on to the epics, 50 cents to 209 for Toledo. The best cards are, of course, the most expensive. You guys know Toledo for the heal, double attack Fellblade, Paulus for being neutral with reach and good damage. Your 2 weapon training cards, these are both good. The Dragon for flying and immunity is a nice combo to get, even though it's a little expensive. I'm personally a fan of Harbinger of Chaos for that 3 magic damage, and he does get immunity at higher levels, but like I mentioned in a previous video, you know, if you can just get 1 copy of each of these just to give your deck some diversity, I think you're going to do very well. Legendaries, I don't know why he's the cheapest. This card is so good. If you play in the higher leagues, even if you play in gold, he is the only card in Modern that is going to have Enrage and Retaliate, and you guys know how good that combo is. So if you love that combo, you definitely want a level 3 or higher Chaos Golem. Return Fire is just a little icing on the cake as far as I'm concerned. I have lost some games to Chaos Golem, and I'm like, yep, that is a good card. But don't see him played very often. Lord Thanalor is another one, too. I picked this one up a few months ago for, like, I don't know why he was like $3. I'm like, that is a very good card. A lot of the legendary cards, as you guys know, are very good, very strong. And we will see how they pair with Conclave Arcana coming up very soon. But we went over prices in part 1, so I won't go over prices again for most of these, but just want to kind of pause here for a minute so you guys can get an idea of how many cards at this moment in time are on the marketplace, along with the price and the total quantity that are in circulation. Okay, gold foils. Let's look at the gold foils. So as I mentioned in part 1, I was waiting for this for quite a while for the floor for gold foil rebellions to hit at least $1. Long overdue. These cards, as you know, are very rare. There wasn't a lot bought. A lot of them have been opened. But still, it's like there's just not enough out there to max some of these things out. And I'm like, why are people giving away gold foil rebellion cards under $1? And you can see some of the commons are starting to trend up. I would not be surprised if the floor of these hits $250. I mean, it really should for as hard as these things are. And there's probably a lot of players like me that love playing with the gold foils. I don't need very many for silver. In fact, my goal is to get 5 of each of these, and I'll have enough for max silver, but they're starting to tick up. I do have my gold foil summoners, so I'm good there. I just need to fill in some of the other cards. As I mentioned in part 1, the Magician is currently $14 to $15 for a single BCX of this card. It is one of the few cards with tank heal in the new modern, so that's probably why. But those are your gold cards, and like I said, if you can pick up a single gold copy of this, it automatically starts at level 3, and you compare it with Prophet Rosa, you know, go ahead and grab this thing. Same thing with Sultry Barmaid. Level 3, it gets its stun, so you're going to have ambush, stun, 4 damage right off the bat with decent speed. You know, this is another card. If you're playing in the lower leagues, just grab one copy and have fun when you pair that with Prophet Rosa. Okay, looking to the rares. So now your rares, single copy the Archer at 2, and then the next cheapest jumps to almost 3. So Lysaros, yeah, this is another card I picked up months ago for like $1.30. I'm like, yeah, he's way too cheap. Even $2.79 might be slightly low. He should be a $3 plus card. So you can see here the rares range all the way up to, and if you can afford it, just get one copy of this Chaos Jailer. If you're not playing max deck, get that 10% bonus, you know, because he starts off with poison. Blackmore Nymph, this is a max copy. That's why that one is so expensive. Soothsayer Gold Foil is nice. Yeah, it's pricey, but level 2, you know, boom, it's got its tank heal right away. The only summoners that I'm really eyeing for Rebellion are these two. The other ones, like Avena, is nice, but I'm really saving my funds for the Conclave Arcana summoners. The rare ones I think are fantastic, and they're going to be a ton of fun to play with. So those are the ones I'm looking to pick up in just a few short days. So there are the rares. Gold Foil Epics, so now you're getting close to $9 for your cheapest one, other than the Hatchling. Up to Crore, there's only a single copy on the marketplace for $89. So these are your epics, and then your gold legendaries. Looking at almost $50 for Runesayer, up to $4.49 for Eternal Tofu. Went through the prices in part 1. So let's just take a quick look to see how many are on the market. Not very many. And how many are in circulation. Just barely over 100 of these things. Okay, so let's wrap this up by going through the promo cards. So we'll start very easily with the common. So the only one is Mana Warden, moved up to 21 cents. Gold foil at $2.91. Once again, we went through prices and all that in part 1. So let's just kind of look at the rares, and then we'll look at the legendaries. Like I said, just so we can kind of have a visual record of how many are in the market. Of course, Keelan Gaines, there's a lot on the market because he is the current promo card. Like I said, Henchling Enforcers moving up. People are realizing how nice this is, having the halving ability right away, and that 2 damage, which can quickly turn into 4 damage when paired with Rosa. Just a lot of great cards here. Grimbarden Smith still holding at 5. What other good ones are there? Rune Arcanist at $5.45. So a lot of good prices, or a decent amount of these cards are available on the market. You know, 30s, 80s, some. But Rune Arcanist, only 10 copies. There's just not very many of these, I think, since the beginning. You can see only 600 copies total. And the gold prices are here as well. And then finally, your legendary cards. So Baron Fiat, there was a price spike a week or so ago where he was up to like $40 a copy. It's come back down to more realistic. He's been in the $4 to $6 range. Ulfka sitting at just under 16. You can see Manaroth and Fizbo in the mid-30s. Nefket at 50. Your gold foil Baron Fiat at 53. Rick Loneman, I don't see very many of him on the market. As you can see, there's a single copy for 55. Other than that, you know, $95 is, you know, the next cheapest. So this card I think is going to disappear pretty quickly. So whoever's lucky and watches this video, this is a deal. Grab that card. He's an $80+ card normally. Eleanor Bravefoot, 56. It's pretty normal. And your other gold foils here. Heloise the Hollow, there are 4 available on the marketplace. $3,000, and it jumps to 17, 19, and then the I don't sell it. Well, most of these are the I don't want to sell it price, but cheapest one is $3 grand. Okay, guys, there you have it. I'm going to wrap up this edition of the Market Watch. I'm excited for tomorrow. Tomorrow, as you know, is the end of the pre-sale. I have not bought my packs yet. I'm going to get some funds in just about 2 hours, and then I have to decide how many packs I'm going to buy. I think what I'm going to do is save half of my funds that I don't spend in the pre-sale, and I will be using them to pick up singles off the marketplace starting on Tuesday. I will be taking Tuesday off of work for the launch of Conclave Arcana. So that is planned. I don't do live streaming, as you guys know, but if there are any content creators out there watching this, if you are looking for a partner or someone to talk with during the beginning of Conclave Arcana going live, if you're streaming and looking for a guest, shoot me a message on Discord. I would love to chat with anyone on this historic day. So hopefully I will be chatting with someone on Tuesday, and you guys will hear more from me then. So until then, if you haven't gotten your packs from Conclave Arcana, time is running out. Let's look at the shop. Let's look where we sit before we wrap up the video. So standard packs, we still have 370,000 available. Alchemy, just over 34,600 available. So these have been the strongest sellers. Legendary packs, these have moved up quite a bit. Earlier, I think there was 11,000 that have sold. Now we're over 13,000. So a lot of legendary packs have been bought in the last couple hours. And then a quick look at the leaderboard. So Cryptmancer at 100,000. When I spoke with Walking Keys, I think it was a week ago, it was last Saturday, the high on the list was like 54,000. And I said, now watch, 54,000, that's number one, is probably going to end up being number 6. You're going to be 54,000 and higher. I expect that by tomorrow. I think there's a couple big players on the sidelines that haven't done anything yet. There's some names that I have not seen, and I think they can jump in and quickly push this 52 and 55,000 down to 5 and 6. So it's definitely going to be an exciting finish to Conclave Arcana. You can see we've purchased over 200,000 packs, over 1.6 billion DEC and credits spent. So exciting times. The chase is real. And until next time, stay the course, keep on forging, have fun, and best of luck when you open your packs on Tuesday. Take care.